Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kotcyn. And I'm Dennis. Today, we're going to install and configure Google's Antigravity, Google's new IDE, or what they call their agentic development platform. I have come to really enjoy the power of Gemini and the Google Antigravity and plan to use both of them in the future for coding and our images. So stick around. Okay, let's start off by going to antigravity.google. It'll bring you to this screen. What we need to do is go ahead and just hit download at this button for a mouse, or there's one at the top. It doesn't matter which one you use. You'll come to this field when you pick your Windows, your Linux, or your Apple product, whichever one for you. I'm picking Apple Silicon. Click that and it'll start the install process. Once it gets downloaded, we're going to go ahead and install and configure everything. Okay, once it's downloaded, go ahead to your download folder, click on it, and it'll bring you to this screen if you're in a Mac, where you got your anti-gravity to the left and your application folders to the right. You click and hold the anti-gravity link and you drop it into the application folder. What that'll do, that'll start going ahead and copying all the files to your computer. Shouldn't take but just a few seconds. We should have everything downloaded, installed, and right now we should be looking at Welcome to Anti-Gravity. Go ahead, click the blue Next button. It'll bring us into the Choose Setup Flow. I'm going to choose Start Fresh, but if you're a coder and you like VS Code, go ahead and import from VS Code. This Anti-Gravity IDE is just a fork of VS Code, so you should be very familiar with it. Click the blue button Next. Pick your theme you like. I'm going to leave mine on dark. Click Next. And now it wants to know how we are going to use anti-gravity agent. There's four different options here. We're going to go through each one separately, and also we're going to talk about the three functions here on the right. First one is strict mode. Strict mode provides the highest guarantee against possible vulnerabilities introduced by the agentic tool. That's what you want if you want the highest possible guarantees against vulnerabilities. Now, the second one is the recommended one. This is the review-driven development. And as you can tell, if you look to the right, there's three different functions that occurs over here: the terminal execution policy, the review policy, and the JavaScript execution policy. Now, we're going to talk about the first one. This is going to be the terminal execution policy. And what this does, it allows the agent to access the terminal to do commands, to run programs or application or whatever it needs to do into the terminal. And there's two different modes that you could pick. You could pick review or request review, which means that every time it wants to access the terminal and run code or whatever it needs to do, you got to review and approve it or deny it. There's always proceed would give it the most autonomous way of doing everything, which would allow it to go ahead and proceed with very minimum, if any, human interaction. So basically, it'd be hands off from you, and it would always proceed when it thought it needed to. I'm going to leave it under the recommended, and then we're going to go through review policy. Now, review policy is basically kind of like when it's doing task implementations, coding, or whatever it is doing. It's going to ask you one of these three different things you could pick from. You could leave it on request review, like we talked about, where you have to go ahead and approve or deny anything it asks before it starts beginning to implement it. And there's always proceed, same thing. It allows it to do everything without any prompt from you or any interaction from you. And here's the third thing, which is kind of a neat, is the agent decides. So the agent actually will decide if it needs you to prompt it for anything or if it should go and do it itself. So that was kind of a neat little thing. Now let's go down to the JavaScript execution policy. So basically, this will allow the agent to access through a Google extension or a Chrome extension your browser, and it will allow it to run JavaScript and do URL links. It will allow it to run into the terminal, look up websites, you name it, it'll do it. It's a very intriguing and fascinating thing it does, and we're gonna get more into that. Of course, it's disabled right now on the recommended one, but if you click again, there's the other options available, like we always talk about. Now let's go to the third option, which is agent-driven development. Of course, you see now it automatically defaults over to always proceed. That tells you that it will be uh, hands off. You don't have to do anything. It's pretty much going to do everything for you. It's not going to ask for your input, prompt, or anything like that. And last is the custom configuration. Now, you could change anything you choose over here to allow it go, whatever the case may be. And that way you control exactly how you want it to do. I'm going to leave on mine the request reviews on all three, and I'm going to click next. Now, here's the configure your editor. Of course, we got about the key bindings. Do you want to leave it on normal or VM? You can pick between one or the other. It doesn't matter. And then in the extensions, it's already got the recommended installed popular programming language extensions. So if you leave it on recommended, it install all those. But if you want to configure it, click the configure button. You see all these languages down at the bottom, and you can uncheck the language you do not want to install. But in my case, I'm going to install the recommended. And of course, you want to install the command line tool to open anti-gravity into AGY or the AG and run it from there. So after you get everything done, go ahead and click your next button. Here we're going to go ahead and click sign in with Google. That way you can sign into your anti-gravity account using your Google passcode. In the next video, we're going to be exploring the key concept of anti-gravity like the agent manager, the editor, the browser, and more. So see you there.